Hello, History of the Americas. I hope these videos are helping you. I'm noticing that some aren't watching, but I guess explaining that in the video is not going to help the ones that aren't watching these. So I don't know, tell your friends, okay? So anyway, I just wanted it to be a waste of time, and I'm just doing it to help, I hope. So I'm going to talk about the lesson for today. You would have just shared your presentation on your Cold War art project. And so we're going to kind of get back into the content that we left off, although everything is going to be really abbreviated and short because, again, we don't really have a lot of time. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to be looking at briefly, and when I say briefly, only this one assignment, at the Alliance for Progress. That's what we were moving towards in class when we were talking about the problems with the United States and Latin America. We were looking at all of the bad deals that had started in the 1800s, and really the United States kind of quest for domination of the resources in Latin America. And so we were looking at all of those different things. And so we had left off with FDR's good neighbor policy. And if we had time, we would look more closely at that. But we were really just looking at how he was hoping to fix the problems in Latin America. But unfortunately, due to the Great Depression and World War II, a lot of things kind of got put on the back burner because those things were much more important. So anyway, Kennedy comes into office and knows that this is a big problem and wants to try to fix these relationships. So what you're going to see for the assignment today is this textbook and reading, and I just did this amazing annotation for you. I mean, it was really exciting for me to do this. I mean, again, I'm not really that great with technology, and so when I figured out I could add all of these cool features, I mean, I just went nuts. So I hope it's not too overwhelming or confusing to have these things on the document. I was actually just trying to do it to help you. So this is from the textbook, and we're not going to be looking at all of these things. We're going to be only looking at why did the Alliance for Progress fail, and then moving forward, we will be looking at the Cuban Missile Crisis, but probably not from the textbook. There really isn't a lot out there about Alliance for Progress because it didn't work. And so I think too, when it comes to Kennedy, more people are interested in the Cuban Missile Crisis or the Bay of Pigs, his assassination and his involvement in Vietnam War. So anyway, I think maybe that's why there's not a lot out there. So I decided to use this textbook. So your assignment is going to be able to, your assignment is to read through the textbook. It's just this page here, and then this top small paragraph here. So it's not that long, okay? You can do this. So I left a little note here off to the left that goes over what I already talked about, where we left off in class, so you can use that to review. And Kennedy wanted to fix this with initiating this new program, and it was Alliance for Progress. And so in here, it talks about what the aim or goal of the Alliance for Progress, and how he kind of was continuing off of Eisenhower, who was the previous president, and his policy. And so remember that Kennedy is president during the Cold War. And so this fear of communism is still pretty fresh because we're talking about like the 1960s. So it's really still fresh in a lot of people's minds and concerns of nuclear war. So, and then obviously with the Cuban Missile Crisis, that really amplifies. So people are super afraid. And so Kennedy's policy, Alliance for Progress, also is addressing the Cold War fear and the fear of communist states rising in Latin America, because that's super close to home. You know, when we think of Cold War, we think of Russia, but a lot of times people don't have an understanding that there were several Latin American countries who were leaning that way or leaning socialist. And so Kennedy was trying to prevent those countries from turning communist with this Alliance for Progress. So what is it? It's a bunch of money. And the idea, just like the Truman Doctrine, was to support these states with money. So as you read, it kind of lays out what the point of it is. You'll see that the mention of the Monroe Doctrine is here again. We've been talking about how the Monroe Doctrine is really been the doctrine of foreign policy between the United States and Latin America for a really long time. So starting with the Mexican-American War and up until President Obama. And so anyway, here's where you kind of get into the main part of the Alliance for Progress. So these are the main points here. And so the goal was to give money and give money to the people that needed it. If you remember when we were looking at the trade and especially with the fruit, networks in Latin America, most people weren't benefiting from that. Only the people way at the top and the United States was benefiting from these trades. The people who were actually working the fields and who lived in these countries got paid very, very little. And so Kennedy was hoping to help support those people. And Kennedy, back to these over here, Kennedy also wanted to diversify trade, meaning he wanted to make Latin America not dependent on only oil, sugar, and fruit. So to give them some more exports, okay? And then increasing employment, bringing about price stability, eliminating illiteracy, and social reform. So those were more of the smaller parts of the program that he was hoping to enact through Alliance for Progress. And then this little blurb here is that idea of the connection with the Cold War. They wanted to prevent the spread of communism. So why did it fail? The reading talks about several different reasons why this didn't work. And so I'm going to let you read for those reasons, because that's basically what your homework assignment is. Also pay attention to this last paragraph here. We talked a little bit about that, how the United States was more happy with dictators in rule of these Latin American countries, rather than having a leader who was a little bit more left-leaning or was trying to create a common field amongst all of the people living in their country. Because to them, that sounded like communism. Even if it wasn't strict communism, the United States was much more preferred a dictator in rule. And so you'll see here during Kennedy's rule and other presidents, there were several coups in these countries, different leaders taken out. And the United States, the CIA took out leaders in Latin America. So a lot of craziness. Okay, so anyway, read that document and use my notes on the side to help you. And then your homework assignment is to answer these 3 questions on this document here. And they're really straightforward. So explain the Alliance for Progress in your own words. So what was it? Then number 2 is to find reasons why it failed according to the textbook, or you can look them up if you want. There are several reasons listed, so I'm asking for you to come up with 3. Make sure everything's in your own words, please. And then finally, out of the reasons listed, opinion question, which one do you think was the biggest role for the failure? So, looking at your list, like, this one seems like it was probably the biggest reason it failed. And again, it's just more for you to kind of put it into context and have an understanding of why it failed, why it didn't work. Okay, so that's your homework assignment. Please email me or ask questions if you need it. Any help or supports, I'm here for you, and I hope you are all doing well.